Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at 7 potential landing spots for Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman Seth Jones. We'll be taking a look at the teams that I think will be in the running for the superstar defenseman. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more videos just like this one, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. And let's take a look at what we could see here for Seth Jones. So, Seth Jones is obviously in the final year of his contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he's made it quite clear to the Blue Jackets that he would like to test the free agent market next summer. Now, there are teams here that would like to bring in Seth Jones. Now, the question is, the way it was worded, there's one of two ways you could look at this. One is Seth Jones, no matter what team he's with, is going to test the free agent market next summer, in the summer of 2022. Or is it, well, because I'm with the Blue Jackets, if I stay with Columbus, I am going to test the free agent market because I don't want to stay in Columbus. That's the question that everyone has been trying to figure out. So, with that said, 7 teams in particular that I think will be taking a running for Seth Jones. Now, let's start with the first one. And I'm going from teams that probably it's not the most likely, but I think they could be in the running because they are looking for defensemen. The only issue is, do they want to give up some of their young depth and prospects in order to acquire a pending unrestricted free agent next season in Seth Jones? That's the only caveat to why I think these teams may not be as into Seth Jones. But we're going to still go over them. Now, the New Jersey Devils are an interesting team. Quick break here. Oof. Apologize for that. Okay, a little better. The New Jersey Devils, right? They have the most cap space in the NHL. Over $36 million in cap space this summer. And they do have some guys that could be attractive here to a team like the Columbus Blue Jackets. In particular, guys like Pavel Zacha, Dawson Mercer. You could even maybe throw in a Jesper Bratt. Those are the kind of guys that the Columbus Blue Jackets may be, in fact, looking for this offseason to add to their roster. And the Devils have them as they could be kind of expendable. I mean, I don't know the exact situation with how the Devils will handle the draft, but Pavel Zacha would be a player that would be unprotected by the New Jersey Devils. So that is something that you have to consider. The Devils may look to move on from Zacha before they get to the expansion draft. And Dawson Mercer, they'd probably like to keep him as another piece to their lineup. But again, this is something that if you're picking up Seth Jones, maybe it's worth giving up that asset. Now, another team to look at is the Boston Bruins. And you may be thinking, how? Well, the Boston Bruins actually are going to have more cap space than most this summer. As much as $26.9 million going into this offseason. Now, they do have a couple of guys you could look at as well. A guy like Cody Beecher on the blue line. I know that's John Beecher. That may be a guy people don't want to see get moved, especially in Beantown. But John Beecher, a good defenseman, he could be had, as well as a guy like Jake DeBrusk. Now, again, you're picking up Seth Jones. So do you give up John Beecher in order to get a guy like Seth Jones? That may be worth it for the Bruins. And that may be something that management says, you know what, we really like John Beecher, but we're getting Seth Jones, who is a commodity right now, as our aging core continues to age. That may be a better bet for our team right now. And again, with over pretty much $27 million in cap space, the Bruins will be able to make a fair play at a guy like Seth Jones. The Winnipeg Jets. Now, they have a lot less cap space than the Bruins and the Devils. They only have $15 million in cap space this summer. But they have some prospects that could make things interesting here. And to be honest, they could even move some centers and stuff like that. Now, Stastny would be a great guy to add there. But the problem is, he's a pending UFA. And chances are, he probably won't want to play in Columbus, a team that isn't competing for the Stanley Cup. So what about maybe some of the young prospects? Well, does Winnipeg want to give those guys up? Probably not. But we are hearing that Christian Vesalainen could be had. And I think this is a guy that maybe the Jets look at maybe shopping around. And if that's the case, maybe that's a guy you could move to the Blue Jackets for a guy like Seth Jones. They also have their former 9th overall pick here in the 2019 NHL Draft, Cole Perfetti, another really solid prospect. That could be another guy that the Blue Jackets would like in a deal for Seth Jones. And Winnipeg is probably more willingly than maybe New Jersey or Boston, maybe willing to give up their first round pick as well. The Philadelphia Flyers are another team. They have even less cap space at $12.3 million this offseason. And they're an interesting team because they have guys that could be had in terms of prospects that it may be worth the while for Seth Jones to get traded. Guys like Morgan Frost, a former first-round pick, Nolan Patrick, a 2nd overall pick. His career really hasn't gone the way that Flyers fans would have hoped. Maybe with Columbus and a new coaching staff, maybe Nolan Patrick decides that change of scenery in Columbus is something worthwhile. And the Philadelphia Flyers have made it quite clear that they would like to add some defensive help this summer. I think they're going to really be checking in on guys like Dougie Hamilton, Morgan Riley, as well as obviously a guy like Seth Jones. We've also heard the Seattle Kraken. I mean, they have all the cap space in the world. They haven't spent any money yet. At $81.5 million, which is the cap ceiling, they have that much cap space right now. So they could absolutely bring in a guy like Seth Jones. And he could be had for multiple draft picks, which if that's the case, well, the Seattle Kraken, that's the only asset they have right now. And they would be able to acquire a guy like Seth Jones with that. It's pretty hard, it's not a hard selling point for Seattle. Hey, listen, we're a brand new team. We've got a ton of cap space, and we could kind of build our team around you, which means you're going to have a pretty predominant role on this team, and that may be just enough of an incentive for Seth Jones to sign an extension. So that may be something to look at there. The LA Kings, they have over $20 million in cap space, and they have a plethora of prospects as well. Guys like Alex Turcotte, Arthur Kaliev. If you need a goalie, again, Columbus doesn't need a goalie. But honestly, that's pretty good right there. They have some young depth guys. You could throw in Tobias Bjornfot as a defenseman. There are guys to be had there for the LA Kings. And again, with that cap space, that may be just enough of an incentive. And to maybe play alongside a guy like Drew Doughty, and maybe even more for a guy like Seth Jones. And then the last team that I think is really the most, if you can make it work, this is the best fit. Now, Seth Jones is from Arlington, Texas. And you can make an argument that the Dallas Stars would be a perfect fit. You get the hometown guy on a hometown discount. The Dallas Stars have just about $17 million in cap space. And they have prospects. Ty Dellandre, Riley Tufte, Thomas Harley. They do have guys they can throw in a deal to Columbus. Now, what would be interesting is, would the Dallas Stars be willing to move on from a guy like, say, Esa Lindell in order to get Seth Jones? Because I think that may be part of the price tag. And I don't know if Dallas Stars fans would like the idea of losing a guy like Esa Lindell, Riley Tufte, and a first-round pick. That's probably the price tag you're looking at if you're the Dallas Stars. That is a little bit expensive for a guy that's a pending UFA, but if you could get him to re-sign or a sign-and-trade, that may just be worthwhile for the Dallas Stars. That is my prediction where I think Seth Jones will go. I've been saying that now for the last couple of days. I think Seth Jones will be a really nice addition to the Dallas Stars. But any of these teams are a wild card. The LA Kings, I think, could really be interesting. Seattle, like I said, multiple draft picks they could throw over to the Blue Jackets. The Philadelphia Flyers need defense, so the Flyers definitely make sense in that, right? The Winnipeg Jets, same thing. We've been hearing that since they've lost some of their big defensemen like Jacob Trouba and Dustin Byfuglien. They need more defensive help. They could get that from a guy here like Seth Jones. The Boston Bruins, they want to add more defense. They may be looking at more guys that are a little bit cheaper and longer-term options. Guys like Matthias Ekholm in Nashville has been a name we've been hearing a lot. Alex Goligoski out in the desert with the Yotes. Those kind of names are the ones we've been hearing more for the Boston Bruins. But again, you could throw them in that category because of the amount of cap space they have to potentially go after a guy like Seth Jones. And don't forget about the New Jersey Devils, who have the most cap space going into this summer, and they have their own prospects, especially with the expansion draft coming here with Seattle. A guy like Pavel Zacha could be had, and he would be a really nice role, a nice fit in for the Columbus Blue Jackets. A left winger, can play center, and the New Jersey Devils may look to move on from him before the expansion draft, as he is going to be likely unprotected by the Devils. They do have other prospects as well, like Jesper Bratt, not Blake Coleman anymore, I always forget his name, Miles Wood, Dawson Mercer. There are guys that the Blue Jackets could work with and that would really fit in well with their culture in order to get a guy like Seth Jones. So guys, that is it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Where do you think Seth Jones will play next season, and where do you think he will sign long term? Or maybe that's the same team. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more videos just like this one, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.